Okay, so I got in 75 Toyota Corolla resin kit. And remember, I will preface this by saying the guy that made this, that printed this, is not the guy that designed it. So whatever 3D file he got is the guy that did it. So going into this purchase, I already knew about the flaws I'm going to talk about here going into it. I knew it was going to be a problem. Having a thing in my hand and being able to see it at all angles is better. But for you guys, I mean, it doesn't really matter. It's okay. It looks like a Corolla. I think if you really know the cars, you will immediately spot the problem here. You see where they screwed up. So, this is the same car. It's a TE31. And this is what the profile back of the car should look like. And this is what the model looks like. So you see the proportions of the trunk here. I mean, this vent, you can just barely see it. I couldn't even see that in the pictures. But you see this angle here. I guess they call that a semi-fastback. It still continues on with the down. And then you have the back window there. And the back window goes from here, which is just below the top line of this window, to there, which is right in the middle of that angle there, the tip of it. You see down here it curves up, and then it goes at an angle, and then like almost to the very end, and it curves up to the top. And these are JDM bumpers, not the USDM, which I think this thing comes with JDM bumpers. And so again, you can look at it like that, and you can see that that angle is pretty close. I think they probably should have raised this a little bit, maybe. Well, the bigger problem, I think if they would have, the biggest problem is, you can tell here, is it's too short. The back half of this car is too short. There should be another, I don't know, 1/4 of an inch tops. And I think that would have made all the difference in the world. The other problem is, look at the fender well openings. You look at the front, which is incorrect. You look at the back, which is really incorrect. It's basically the same opening as the front, just reversed. Now this can be fixed. I can sand, grind, cut out a little bit on the back here, and then it'll be the same front and back. It won't be correct for the Corolla, but it'll be better looking than that. In the front, we can just leave alone. So you can see here, oh, I got something. You can see here the shape. There's vertical, and then it goes up, and then it ends about vertical again. So it won't be perfect, but it'll be all right. So this back window, you see how it comes to that point and lifts up. That is much too high. I mean, here it's about 1/4 of the way up, about 1/3 of the way up. There it's less than 1/4. So realistically, the back window opening, the point should be down here. And that kind of throws off the rest of the angles. This vent, again, you can barely see it, but it should be just a touch farther back. But you can tell on the other side more, because there's the gas cap, and this thing is farther back from the gas cap. Now, let me switch pictures. Here's the rear end of the car. Here's the rear end. First thing, look at how big that back window is. That is huge. It's way too big. And then the shape of the back here, kind of dark. This is the coupe hardtop rear end. Coupe hardtop taillights. This opening here is really close, but they're both pretty close to it, but they're different. This is the coupe rear end, and I'll show you. See, and here we go. See this deep area around the license plate, that matches. It's lower between the taillights. If the taillights are straight up and down, that matches. This area right here, how short it is really close. So basically, if you continued the trunk up and you move the bottom of the window up, this would be right. So somebody screwed up. Somehow they put this in on a sedan. You see that back window, the way it comes up like that? And that's still too short. But it doesn't have those vents. It does have the gas tank in the right place. So it doesn't matter to me. I'm gonna build it the way it is. I'm gonna, put these taillights in the back. I'm gonna build the rear end like the coupe, but I'll build everything else like the sedan. And it'll have a short little stubby trunk. And whatever. Like I said, most people wouldn't notice it. People who own the cars might notice it, but I don't think they'd care. And again, it's not the fault of the printer, it's the fault of the designer. So, for 30 bucks shipped, you could have one too. But I've got a 60 Valiant coming maybe next week. I'll check it out too. But right now, the Matador is on hold until I get the paint in to paint the bumpers and the grille. And then I also need to get a windshield for it. And then it'll be finished. So on to the next thing. So I'm next door. These are all models. This is all models. This is my wheels and tires and engines and interiors and chassis and paint brushes, glues, Got more. All these little boxes over here. These totes. Better not be that one. That one. Yeah. This one. All model cars. And I can't take them over next door to the house that we're renting, and our house isn't ready to move in yet. So, soon. Let's see, we don't have the living room wall back up yet. And we haven't put the kitchen in yet. And the bathroom needs to be completely rebuilt. The walls fallen in, the pipe leaked and screwed it all up. But once we get moved in here, I'll be able to set up everything in there and unpack all my models. Okay, this is the interior bucket out of the 60 Falcon Promo. And this bucket doesn't look bad. But as you can see, the chassis is badly warped. I'm going to try to straighten this out a bit, and then I'm going to have to cut it up to make it fit the Corolla because it's still too wide, but I don't have anything smaller than that. So obviously this Falcon dashboard isn't going to cut it. Doesn't look anything like a Corolla dash. And this has the basic proportions. So some of your more savvy guys will probably recognize this dash as the one that came in the heavy Chevy 70 Chevelle from, I think it was a monogram kit. It was 1/24th scale kit. But this basic opening here matches the Corollas. I'll have to fill the bottom part of it and flatten this a little bit. And it's going to have to be shortened because it's way too wide for this bucket here. But I'll get started on that. And there's a big chunk missing out of it too, so that'll have to get fixed. Yeah, we'll get started on that. It was Valiant for a different project. I've got 2 Valiants coming, or bodies anyway coming. So we'll talk about them when they get here. On to this project. Okay, working on the Corolla here because I'm waiting on paint for the Matador and windows. Now I talked before about how they kind of screwed up on this model when they made it. They put the coupe rear end on a sedan. So here's the sedan again. There's the vent, and it's kind of got that body line around the vent, and you can barely see them on this. Looks pretty good there in the shadow. This side's a lot worse. And so one of the problems I noticed, if you look here, you see it right there. This body line comes down and disappears, and then this body line picks up out of nowhere and flares out. See? Flares out, like just out of the middle of nowhere. You have a body line there coming off of the top of this vent, which is kind of there. It's barely a crease at all. Yeah, see, it's barely a crease. But here on this, it's fairly correct. It's probably less of a crease than it needs to be. But this thing on top is terrible. It just turns right out. And so you can see on the real cars, oh, let me see if there's a, I don't think there's a very good shot. There isn't, but you can kind of see there's that crease. And it just goes pretty well straight in. And so I've been working on this side here for the last couple hours. And this is a hell of a lot thicker than the Matador. I mean, you can kind of see light through the roof, kind of see through the top of the trunk lid. That corner, you can see light starting to get a little thin, but you can barely see anything through the hood, through the sides. I mean, it's just so thick. So I've been working this side. And then also the shape back here, how round this is. I've been working on that. I got that just about down. But this edge here, I suppose that crease is pretty close. This upper edge, I probably need to work on it just a little bit more, but it's almost done. And you can see that side curves inward slightly. So it's almost there, where this side needs a hell of a lot of work. But there's a lot of meat in those corners. Like you can't even see light through them in the edges. So I'm not too worried about that. This is almost done. You can see how much I've taken off here, and how thick it is over here, and how thin it is there. I've taken a lot. I've also straightened out these wheel well openings as much as I can without adding material. The front looks like it's down about perfect. Rear is still a little curve heavy in the front, but I was able to open up the rear to make it kind of match. That's about as far as I can go, because if I cut too much here, this little flare, you'll be able to see it in that flare. But compared to this, that looks a lot better. I did smooth the roof out. And there was also, see how the roof here curves? Just one nice curve. This thing had a curve and then a drop. So you can kind of see it. I can still kind of feel it. It's about gone over here. I still need to work this side. But you can kind of see it there. It's terrible. You see it's about gone there. So I need to work that a little bit more. So I'll get back to work. But that's what I've been doing. I need to get on that. Probably curve this a little bit more so you can't even see light through there, so it's still thick. And I think we'll be okay. All right. Well, as it turns out, I forgot a major detail on the dashboard. This lower part here where the vents and the HVAC controls are supposed to be. So I just whipped up something here with some of my pieces, and after it dries, I'll color in the details. I got a coat of beige on the interior, and so we'll get some beige on this here in a little bit. Well, here it is in primer. It looks like this kind of ridge is still there. There's really nothing more I can do with it. The real car doesn't have that kind of ledge or drop off there. The whole roof is just kind of a curve. And this corner came out really well. It doesn't need really hardly any work at all. This side came out, looked like it'd been rear-ended and bonded up. So I'm working on it just a little bit more, and I'm gonna go over the whole car and sand it. One thing I noticed too I don't like is, where this should have a fairly slight curve here, you see it just kind of boop drops down in the front. Again, it's whoever designed this, not the guy that printed it, but the guy who designed this thing. He actually shows the guy's name. I looked at his other designs, and he's got some pretty cool ones. He's got a 68 Coronet wagon that if he had a 68 satellite wagon, I'd be all over that like a fat kid on a cupcake. But looks like all those little swirls are gone. So there's just little spots there on both sides underneath the door, a little printing line there. There's one over here underneath the light. Let's see. Other than that, it's almost ready to paint. I've gotten this kind of odd color that I thought would look really good on this. They call it gloss deep turquoise. I would call this a dark teal, but I think it would look really good on there, even though it's not really a factory color. Who cares? Now, I was just told that down at the post office, I ordered a 62 Valiant, and it's, it's not complete. It's missing a whole lot of parts, but it's down there. So it's basically like this. This is a 61 or a 60 two-door. I'll do a write-up on this one, but it's down there. This car is going to become a donor. And I'll tell you why in a bit. This is the color I chose for it. They call it Modern Mint. But anyway, I'm gonna get back to work on this. This is the chassis. So I was able to trim the sides to make it fit down in there, trim the ends. These wheels and tires will have to go on it. Of course, I'll have to paint the tires black and get rid of the white wall. No, I'm not putting white walls on a damn Corolla. But this works. Interior bucket, I need to get some brown paint and kind of touch up areas. Paint the carpet. And this is my dashboard. If you remember, this is the dashboard out of a monogram heavy Chevy 70 Chevelle, which was 1/24 scale. So I had to trim the ends over here and trim more off on this side. And then I filled the bottom part of the dashboard. I put some of my styrene across it, a little filler, and then I had to make this. This is the HVAC controls, cigarette lighter, and then outlets for the AC or heater. But this is how it came. Also, the corner was broken off. I don't know why. So I just kind of made one from tape because you won't be able to see it under the windshield, but Vegas steering wheel. But that'll work. I just have to trim the corners again because they're hitting on the body. But that's where we're at on that. I'm going to get back to sanding and away we go. Okay, here we are. Since final coat of primer. Got all the gaps cleaned of primer. It's still not perfect, but it's as good as I'm going to be able to get it. Still got kind of a big bulge on the back, but that's just the way it came out. If I go too much further, there won't be enough material left on the edge of these taillights. So I've sprayed the cardboard that I've been using to paint on to see if there's any interaction with the paint. Plus, it's pouring down rain out there right now, and it's humid as hell, so I'm going to make sure it's going to work. So I'll get some paint on that, and I'm going to start another video on the Valiants. Okay, so it's been quite a while, and I'm pretty well wrapping up the Corolla model, resin 3D printed. There's still a couple little things to do, but, you know, stuff that'll take me like 5-10 minutes and then it's finished. So here it is. So if you remember correctly, this is a 3D printed resin kit, and it's just the body. So it was shipped and taxed, it was like 30 bucks. It came with the bumpers, the taillights, the grill. It came with 2 grills, actually. This is the Levin style grill, and the other one was like what the KE used. It does not come with interior, it does not come with windows, it does not come with chassis. You can order them with everything, all in resin, but they're about 120 bucks, I think, once you get all said and done. I've seen them as cheap as like 80, but yeah. So, as you saw in the other videos, there's a lot of sanding that goes into this to make the body smooth, and as you can see, this one's not that great. Like, if you remember in the Matador video, there was a hell of a lot of sanding, and that one came out great. And this is Rust-Oleum. It takes forever to harden up, and it doesn't dry with a super high gloss, as you see. It's a little dusty. I mean, it's only been 6 months, you know. This is the Molotov chrome pen. Came out pretty awesome. So, this is one of the things I got to finish. I just got to paint the red on the taillights. I got to paint the black around the windows. And the windows were cut out of like a salad container. And I was using this different super glue, but it was like water, super thin, so I ended up making a mess out of the windows. And I don't care enough to redo it all. This is a prop. This is going to be sitting on a road in a diorama, you know. So I ended up using, I had a 60 Falcon promo that was just completely warped. So I ended up using the interior bucket out of it. I had to split the bench seat in half to make it look like buckets. I made the emergency brake handle. I made the shifter, which you can hardly see. So the front seat and back seat are basically the Falcon. I had to shave the doors down to make them fit inside there. The dashboard is from a 70 Chevelle, the heavy Chevy Revell. And it was cut down and filled and a bunch of stuff done to make it look like the Corolla unit. Headliner was painted. And so this is just a real kind of stripped down basic unit. Didn't have a lot of chrome on it. Didn't have the bumper protectors. Of course, these are the JDM bumpers. Chassis wise, I used the same chassis from that promo. I had to shorten it a bit, and as you can see by the fact that it's not straight, the warpage was just terrible. And I'm also finding out that no glue seems to stick to it. So these are the wheels and tires from that Falcon. I blacked out the white wall, and like I said, it's a prop. It's just going to sit in a diorama and be pretty well forgotten, just sitting there. So again, I just need to finish up the trim, and I need to finish up the taillights, and then it's 100% done as far as I'm concerned. So there you have it. We finally put a wrap on the Corolla, and I'm getting started on this Datsun here. The Valiant is basically, the Valiant's done too, so you guys will see that video next. But that's it for this one, and talk to you later.